What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Radical Roots Podcast. I'm your co-host, Payron Baxter.
And I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval. How y'all doing?
Happy Mother's Day. First of all, before we get started on today's show, see, Rom, you got no manners. You got no manners. You're just jumping into your name. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there from all different stripes, flavors, and types. You matter, and what you do for your children and what you do for the world is impactful. We all came from a mother. So I just want to say Happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to my mother. Happy Mother's Day to my wife, all the mothers out there, aunts, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for everything
Yeah,
that y'all
man.
do.
What did you guys do?
We did brunch at home, and gave my wife kind of the full day, or pretty much most of the day, to herself to kind of just relax.
Right.
Me and the girls, did some Mother's Day activities, arts and crafts, all kinds of stuff like that. So, um, and it was raining today, so they were
It was. It
inside the
was.
house, but it was a great day. And I tried to I didn't really have a lot of time to focus on think about the show. I was like, it was like 6 o'clock. I was like, oh yeah, we got a show tonight. So, um,
You're so invested as a husband. What you're trying to say? You're so invested into your wife and Mother's Day. You're like, I can't even think about these politics because I'm too busy with the politics of my relationship.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure she thinks that there can always be more. So, how
Well,
about you?
hey,
What did you do?
you're the Republican of the two. Well, we did brunch at home as well. I'm a one trick pony, Rom. I'm a one trick pony. And I do a Mother's Day brunch every Mother's Day, but it's the same Mother's Day brunch. Now, it's good though. It's a good Mother's Day brunch. And so we did that. We all kind of ate to the point where we all want to take a nap. And then the kids were like, let's go to the mall. And so we went to the mall, bought some stuff, walked off our brunch, got some lunch slash dinner because brunch is breakfast slash lunch. And then we came back home, man, and now I'm here talking to you about how great of a husband I am for doing those things. So I do expect an award for me being the best husband on Mother's Day. We should create that. No, but it's good to uplift our wives, our mothers. My mom was actually at work today. My mom's a nurse, so she's at work today. She works until like 11 p.m. It's crazy to be that old, still doing it, but she cares about people. So I sent her flowers and all that good stuff. So yeah, but shout out to all the moms out there. You guys rock. And we live in a society, right? And we're one of the only countries that doesn't have paid maternal leave. That we actually don't care about women, honestly, in this country. So we want to give you our love from the bottom of our hearts from the Radical Roots podcast to say we are fighting to create a society that is actually amicable to mothers and that you actually can be with your children and you don't have to worry about stressing yourself out to the point you can't work no more, you can't do anything no more, you can't be with your kids no more. So that's our goal. That's our goal. So anyway, uh what we're getting into in today's episode is what we have never usually done before is talk about what we are going to be talking about on the episode. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Donald Trump wants to reopen Alcatraz for probably the homegrowns. Those homegrowns, they could just go to Alcatraz. And Stephen Miller, how he wants to suspend habeas corpus for ostensibly American citizens, but of course they use the pretense of immigrants. Dr. Carla Hayden is out at the Library of Congress, and Mayor Raz Baraka was arrested by ICE with their what was they called, the baklavas? What are those things? The gaiters they wear on their faces. Total
Same
non-fascist
thing.
stuff.
The Proud
Uh,
Boys. The same thing the Proud Boys
yeah,
wear.
maybe they're just multi-purposing it. Maybe they wore it on Saturday for the Proud Boys, event, and then on Sunday when they go arrest people, they got the same one, same one. Um, and then of course anything else that comes up, I think we might even touch on the Surgeon General and maybe even Mayor Box of Wine, who was appointed as the interim
DC Attorney General.
DC Attorney General, Demon Rats, as she likes to say about
After
Democrats.
the first guy was didn't get the cut,
Ed Martin.
Ed Martin, and ironically
Well, he's trying to win that
Tillis,
re-election.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what his angle is, but Janine Pirro, hey, I think the best thing that can happen at this point is putting incompetent imbeciles into these seats, as opposed to Ed Martin was a
A
threat,
lunatic.
a lunatic. Janine Pirro is not.
A lunatic.
They are. She is a lunatic, but she is not. I don't. I would say the word maybe surgical. Some of these people are built to destroy. These some of these people are more like Dumb and Dumber. So, anyways, and that's Janine Pirro.
Or the sequel, Dumber and Dumberer. That's what we
But
have going on right now. But anyway, so that's on our episode tonight, folks. And you know, we're trying to do new things. You know, we're trying to maybe even expand the family. We had a great conversation. So be on the lookout, folks, because Radical Roots is growing. Radical Roots is doing some cool stuff. We got some guests coming up that will also be very interesting for you folks listening to. But yeah,
all right, so let's
let's jump into
jump
the
in.
first topic.
Go ahead, man. What we got?
First up was let me go back in
You
here
want
real
to do
quick.
you want to do Stephen Miller or Alcatraz? It's all related. So we
Alcatraz.
can...
I mean, it's fun. That's
all right,
fun,
all right. Let's start with
right?
Alcatraz.
So there was the clip going around where Trump was in I believe, in the Oval Office, and they were asking him about reopening Alcatraz, and he just kind of went on this kind of meandering spiel about Alcatraz, and oh, it was glorious, and it was big, and it was strong, but it was weak, and it was ugly, and it was beautiful. And this is Roger Goodell was behind him, commissioner of the NFL, and Mayor Muriel Bowser was on the other side. If you have that clip, or if you could find it, that'd be great because this is again, this is who
Who
y'all wanted.
who was on his side?
Roger Goodell
Oh god.
was there, and then on the other side was Muriel Bowser. If you could find that,
Yeah.
but if you watch this, you
Urinate
can see the
excessively.
it's not just his old age that is clearly is happening in his diet coke addled brain, but it's also gravity itself pulling at his bejowling face and his pumpkin like skin that is rotting and his inability to stay on message. This is someone who is unable to even be a scintilla of the person that Kamala Harris would have been, or anybody, to be totally honest. And that long night of death, that death's long night, is knocking at the door for him, and you could tell that he's just holding on for dear life. You know, he got what he wanted. He ran to get out of jail, and now he's talking about reopening a jail. So check this out.
The Catholics loved it. I had
Is
nothing
it
to do
sound
with
on?
it. Somebody made up a
Yeah,
picture
let
of
me
me
help you
dressed
out.
like the Pope, and they
Please.
put it out on the internet. That's not me that did it. I have no idea where it came from. Maybe it was AI, but I know nothing about it. I just saw it last evening. Actually, my wife thought it was cute. She said, "Isn't that nice?" It represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate. Our film industry has been decimated by other countries taking them out, and also by incompetence, like in Los Angeles. The governor is a grossly incompetent man. He's just allowed it to be taken away from, Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't do very much
That's
of that
embarrassing.
business. They have the nice sign and everything's good, but they don't do very much. A lot of it's been taken to other countries, and a big proportion. And I'm actually going to meet with some because, there's some advantages, I guess, and I'm not looking to hurt the industry. I want to help the industry. But they're given financing by other countries. They're given a lot of things, and the industry was decimated.
So could you imagine just
Oh
wait, could you imagine just like having to stand next to this guy and
no.
keep and like and have to like consciously keep a straight face, not even not laugh, but like not react, right?
Right.
Because
Just keep it.
my
Just keep me
reaction
as
is like
a zombie.
just any little.
What, sir? Yes. And then he like, but the problem is like he pulls people into it. He'll be like, because Rom here knows what I'm talking about. You're like, oh fuck, yes, yes, yes. I do like to eat munchkins as well.
Gretchen.
Right. So, but it's just so ridiculous. In Alcatraz was only open for 29 years. It wasn't even open a long time, and it closed because I mean, I'm sure you know, but the folks who do not know, Alcatraz is on an island. So for it to be open requires, things to go across water, and that is, y'all, it's expensive. Now we
I
know
know.
someone who is privileged, never had to work or do anything or to prove himself to anybody, doesn't understand what something being expensive is. So the reason Alcatraz closed down is because it's 3 times more expensive to run compared to any other jail or prison.
Yeah,
And the folks who go there, there's places, there's walls where you can just put your hand through the wall. So who's supposed to be in this prison, right? Babies who don't have the strength to push their hand through a rotted wall.
yeah. One of these Republicans called it the West Coast Rikers.
Ah,
Rikers is a state prison.
it's a detention center. It's not even a prison.
Yes, yeah, and
It's just a holding place before you go to
Alcatraz
prison.
was like Alcatraz. I understand it was a federal,
Hmm.
right? So two different, completely two different things. But um, yeah, I mean, I
And
I
then
don't
that
know.
clip, and then that clip you played, then as he was meandering, there's a certain point where he was like, and then only one person ever escaped, and that person they found the clothes, and there were shark bites, and they weren't too happy. Now the people who archive Alcatraz, they said this never, that they have no record of this in the archives. But what he probably did watch was Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, where that happened. This is the fucking moron we have, and this is why he's like the film industry. And by the way, I hate the way he says industry, the industry. Like he has a weird emphasis on the wrong syllable. The film industry. I mean, I'm saying it the correct way still, but he says it in a very odd way. But anyway, yes.
I don't know. I get flack for saying Craigslist weird. So,
How do you
anyways,
say Craigslist? How do you say it?
Craigslist,
Craigslist?
Craigslist,
Craigslist?
Craigslist, right? I don't know.
Craigslist?
People say, "Hey," anyways, they say I say it like a question. Regardless, besides the point.
Craigslist? Craig? What would you get on Craigslist?
So,
I don't know.
anyways, besides the point. But they he also had a plan to they tried to reopen Guantanamo Bay. They sent 30 something people there, and then they realized that logistically this is stupid, right? Like this isn't actually going to work for a multitude of reasons, I'm sure, right? As you can imagine, reopening this ginormous prison that actually takes maintenance, right? It's not just like you just have a few guards and that's that, right? And
Just leave them in there.
this is a real estate like this is supposed to be a real estate guru, right?
Guru.
And he okay, well,
Guru.
we're gonna open up this island, jail prison, and think that it's going to be efficient, economical. No, I don't know. He just wants a place to have to where he can, exercise his cruelty, to do whatever he wants with these people, disappear people, in my opinion. Or he's not. I mean, I don't even think it will come to fruition. I think that everyone will
No,
say that
no.
this makes no sense whatsoever. So
There's no pipes. I saw a video of a guy who was talking to a guard specifically about this at Alcatraz. Like, hey, Trump wants to reopen this place. Like, how long would it take? And the guy was like, he would need to knock the entire thing down and rebuild it. He's like, there's no wiring, the pipes don't work, the cells don't work. Again, 90% of the building is rotting. The concrete is 110 years old on the floor and in the walls. So, like, but again, to your point, he just wants to met out his cruelty on as many people as possible. But what's going to get in the way, as always, is his own incompetence. And as we talk about deportations, he's behind Obama in deportations at this point. He's behind Joe Biden. And ironically, he's behind his own first administration in deportations. So but they're going for the Big Bang spectacle to make everybody afraid, to make everybody freeze. But I think what we're going to see, and we're going to get to our final story. But folks they're willing to push back because they realize that these people are dumbasses, and we're dealing with these, modern day Klan. Yeah, I saw a video. Someone was like, the reason you don't see the Klan pop up is because they're ICE agents now. And it's like, yeah, that's how it works. All these folks, because ICE agents were police department washouts anyway, and now they are rounding folks up off the street. And the reason they have their faces covered because they know. Yeah, Trump may pardon them for federal crimes, but they are breaking people's civil rights and for civil offenses. So they want to still be considered, in polite society, the same way the Klan did. That's why they wore masks on their face so they can be accepted into polite society as the doctors and lawyers and mayors of the towns. But it's the same sort of a thing.
yeah, I think they're definitely trying to use it as a deterrence to have more people continue to come,
Yeah.
but they're doing it at the expense of innocent people who, when I say
Yeah.
innocent, they came here for a better life. They contribute to society. Their fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers,
Right.
daughters, sons, and like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old high school students. You know what I'm saying? People have been here since they were 4. I mean, that's
Mm.
cruelty, right? That's just cruelty. And like in these so-called Christians, right? Just go against everything that Jesus teachings, right? So um
And we'll get to this in our last story, but and to protect us from what? Protect us
protect us
from
from
what?
brown protect us from brown and black boogeymen, right? So that's what it is at the end of the day. I mean, I feel like we at this point we call a spade, right? Because
That's right.
we can stop beating around the bush. This is a
Right.
white this is a white supremacist racist
I
regime.
mean, we saw that with the Afrikaners they're trying to bring here, the white refugee Afrikaners, right? I mean, at this point, we could say, hey, they don't want no black and brown people here. That they're willing to put you on a rail, but we need to bring in 50 oppressed colonizers from South Africa. It's like if people don't understand that, and this is what when folks are trying to tell me like, oh, it's not about race, it's about economic anxiety. It's like no, they are telling you as explicitly as they possibly can that this is about a white Christian ethno state.
Yeah, and we're getting the confirmation points, right? Like as we go. I mean,
Right.
people have been saying this for since 2015 about this particular regime, but
Yep.
and so it was all in the making before, and a lot of people knew that if he got a second term, that it would look much very similar to what it looks like today. Matter of fact, that 4-year period probably might actually be more detrimental and gave him 4 years to strategize and or not him,
Not
but
said not him because his brain
but
is
but these
goo.
people, this heritage, Stephen Miller, to actually get
Hmm.
things in place for this moment. But like these, we're getting these confirmation points. The same thing is we could probably just go into the next topic, but
Yeah.
suspending of habeas corpus, like that doesn't surprise me, right? Like
Right.
martial law, like all of these things, suspending the Constitution, martial law, habeas corpus, all of these things are is expected. So like having these conversations back in December when we started this podcast and talking to some of my friends who were pay a little bit of attention, it's like, and you're warning them and you're telling them and they're like, you seem like you're blowing things out of proportion. It's like, I'm just giving you a warning. I'm giving you the light. I'm giving you what I think you can handle. I'm not even giving you to like what I actually think is going to happen, but
Rom, the problem is like the black and brown people try to warn white America about their own misgivings because one, we've survived it. We know all the telltale signs. Me and you on this podcast are like Paul Revere, and instead of people being like, "Oh, the British are coming," they're gonna knock us off the horse and shoot the fucking horse. Like that's what's happening when we're trying to warn people, or the concept of like a Cassandra, in Greek mythology, the idea that we're going to tell people what's going to happen, and your curse is that people will never believe you.
Mhm.
Like that is we are Cassandras in the modern reality. If so pick your poison. Either be Paul Revere or Cassandras, or the black and brown Paul Revere's, where folks will say, "Hey, you know what? Shoot that man on that horse, and shoot the horse."
yeah.
That we don't want to hear what they're saying. So
Yeah,
like,
it's one thing for the goalpost to move with the Republicans. Like that's literally their playbook. Like
sure,
consistently, like like
right,
when it's people, Democrats, people on the left, and they're
right,
like, well, Schumer is like, that's my red line. Like, you do realize your red line has now passed, right? So like
a long time
he's
ago.
disobeyed the Supreme Court. Like, so I don't know what they're waiting for to for them to for the Supreme Court to hold them in contempt. I don't know what's the next red line. But there's no more red lines as far as I'm concerned. Like the red lines have been passed. I mean, I guess suspending habeas corpus
I
would
think I
be
told you like with Chuck Schumer specifically, he has this imaginary family in his head. Did we talk about this on the show yet?
um no.
Yeah,
We didn't.
this is not me making this up. So hold me to account. But the Chuck Schumer, he says this constantly for years, and they used to have this other name. I think they used to be called the oh somethings, but then he changed it to the Baileys. So when he's talking to camera crews or pool sprays, he'll say, "Well, the Baileys like that. We're gonna sign a CR that Mike Johnson and the Republican House put together. The Baileys like that we are for pro-Israel. The Baileys like." And it's like, who is this ridiculous constituent family that you are trying to tell us that since the Baileys like that Hakeem Jeffries isn't? He says he has no leverage. The Baileys love that. The Baileys, and it's like, you're never talking to the Johnsons. You ain't talking to the Williams family. You ain't talking to, what I mean? Like, you ain't talking to the Sandovals of the world. You're talking to the Baileys. But he has this imaginary family that he uses as his premise to basically stab the Democratic Party in the back.
I've never heard this, but this reminds me of Ron Vera. You know who Ron Vera is?
Oh, I know who. I mean, we all should know who Ron Barry. He's an expert.
So Ron Vera is why we have terrorists. He's a fake person that.
Well, Ron. Well. Pete Navarro absolutely, confides in him. He had him in his book. That's who he cited. So I don't know if you're saying this guy is a piece of shit or full of it. I don't know. I don't know. He's been cited in Pete Navarro's book. You know that, right?
Well, he's made up, right? So.
Oh,
he's completely made up by Paul Navarro.
Oh, okay. So it's like if someone was named
he's
like
also somebody who served prison time. So like it's not surprising. Like so
for Donald Trump,
all these people who for Donald Trump. So is it really that big of a surprise when they do shit like make up characters, make up experts, and then they create an entire fake policies around them, and like that they've actually done research, that they've actually done the amount of research to show that like tariffs will have this effect, right? Like,
yeah, it's some insane shit. It's like when Joe Rogan was like, what did he say? He came on the show and said something about some policy is fraudulent, and they found it, and then like if you go back and find it, it was Joe Rogan saying that like 6 months ago. It's this like snake eating its own tail, self lying licking its own balls, sort of an ideologues. And this is what DEI is for them. It's displaced experts for ideology, and that's what they have. That's what we have now. We have a society where we're displacing experts for ideology.
This is what they think DI. This is what they think DI is.
That's your job. That's your job, Rom.
It's like you walk into the job and he's like network engineer. He just looks at it.
I got it.
And that's what they think DI is. But realistically,
let me take a hammer to this.
Really, realistically, these guys come in and they won't just sit there and look at it like they don't know what they're doing. They'll actually just start unplugging shit and doing whatever.
And start pissing on it.
And then they'll say that they'll make up in the whole entire scenario and say that like, yep, they did this and fixed it, or that was supposed to happen. That's what these people are doing.
Well, it shut down, so that's the reason. So we're saving money now because it's not working anymore.
Well, whoops, there we go. But yeah, so this is what we have, right? So DI has been replaced by mediocre, less than mediocre, pretty much almost entirely cabinet full of white men, and
the wealthiest cabinet as well, by the way.
Right, billionaires. I think I saw something like 23 ex-Fox News correspondents or hosts.
Oh, great! Only the best.
So these people, these people are like, they're real world cast.
Sean Duffy,
whatever. So you got Janine.
Like,
Pirro,
dude, I saw you eat a fucking scorpion, bro. Like, I saw you naked on a beach, bro. I don't want to see you tell me like why the planes ain't flying because of DEI.
And Pete Hegseth, who's still, who I believe he's alcoholic, an active alcoholic, and to the point where if you go to speak somewhere, you can't actually not drink in an event. I'm sorry, but you need to seek help, right? So
yes,
and you cannot do that job. You cannot have the largest budget in the entire world.
Prove it.
Pete be in charge of national
security. Right. I'll show you
exactly, and it's gonna backfire. Unfortunately, it's gonna be. I don't. Yeah. So, chickens will come home to roost. Mike Waltz has fallen on that sword. The Lord Loomer has all this influence within
Jigsaw
that, and so I think she was railing against. I don't know if you saw a quick off topic, but like
No, yeah,
she
go
was
ahead.
getting
Go ahead.
this $400 million plane from Qatar or Qatar.
Oh no, I haven't heard of this. No.
Yeah, so that was in the news that President Trump will be getting a $400 million Boeing 747 from Qatar,
That's
um,
nice.
and he will be using it as Air Force One.
Oh,
And right before the end of his term, it will be donated to Trump's presidential library.
that's gonna have, like, the big Clifford the Big Red Dog in there. Look at that. I mean, if this isn't America first, I don't know what is. These people that are Islamophobic and they hate anybody's look, but they are fine with Trump taking money from the Saudis and the Qataris and whoever the hell else. It's just, man, a white
So
man could just fail upwards into the sky.
yeah, so here's the thing, Laura. So basically, it's ripe for bribery, right? Like that's what it is, what it's going to boil down to. And let me see, I'm pulling up the Laura Loomer, because she goes into her xenophobic, racist self to go in on President Trump. She says, um,
She says a lot sometimes.
this ain't even the right one. She does think a lot. This ain't even the right one. That's her going off on some other stuff. But let me pull it up. But anyways, where is it at? Oh, here we go. All right, this is a good one, so I got to show this one.
I don't think I've ever heard a Laura Loomer like take and be like, you know what? Sound advice. Sound advice,
Well,
Laura. Thank
there's
you.
something else that she's done in the past where it's kind of blown up their spot. I think she went in on, I think, Elon, or no, it was Vivek. But it's usually rooted in
Sounds
racism,
very racism, right? Right.
xenophobia. So he said, "I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him,
We know,
but I have
You
to
got
call
the
a
orange stuff around your
spade.
mouth.
We cannot accept a $400 million gift from
Mm-mm.
jihadists in suits.
Oh,
The the Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah who have
mm.
murdered U.S. service members, the same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get
Ooh,
jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such
yikes.
a stain on this admin if this is
Oh,
true.
this will be the stain.
And I
Mm.
say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump, I'm so disappointed.
Mm.
She's talking to people
She
who
would put a maxi pad on her ear.
these are people who probably wouldn't mind putting, if she gets in their way, gets in Trump's way. Yeah.
She would absolutely put a maxi pad on her ear for Donald Trump. She is one of those cult members. But at the end of the day, the question becomes, so if all this is bad, so what if he does? What does that say about all your ridiculous ideology that you just spewed in that tweet? That these people are a bunch of crazy Islamists, jihadis, blah 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 blah. Okay, well, Trump is in bed with them. Now what? Now what?
I
And
don't
this
know
is the
how
problem
nobody knows
with their
though. Mhm.
yeah, but this is the problem with their inconsistent logic, right? Like, this is the problem with their inconsistent ideology, is that there must always be an enemy. But the one thing we know is that trade and capital knows no borders. It knows no borders. We're already talking about how China's not sending things to the United States, but they're backdooring stuff to other countries that can import stuff here. China gonna get that money, okay? So this whole idea of like, oh, well, the ports are, they're not getting it. That's true through that way, and there will be pain. But people who want to buy, China will absolutely exploit that,
Mhm.
rightfully so. But the thing is, Trump and all these racists, they this is why I say Republican voters themselves, the problem is with them. Like, because yes, we could put all this on Trump or Stephen Miller and all these other racist assholes, but
Mhm.
it's the people that give them power
Yep.
because they don't want any fucking thing. And if you don't want anything, you still need deliverables from your elected officials. And so when they get into office, even like a Mayor Robert Burns here locally, is he doesn't know how to build anything or do anything positive. So what does he do? I'm gonna take this away. I'm gonna destroy that. I'm gonna harm this group. I'm gonna attack those people
Right.
because even me as a mayor, I don't fucking want anything. I don't want a goddamn thing because that's a privilege because this country has been taking care of me since jump because this country was carved in my image.
These people, they absolutely just now that like, what do our taxes fund, or what do our federal taxes fund at this point that
Elon Musk?
benefit us in any sort of way?
No, no,
And so and
no.
then you say, oh, with this wasteful spending and da 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 da, like, okay, so especially for the mayor, right? All this stuff's going to come trickling down. Like, all these gaps and issues are going to come to the state level. They're going
He
to come
doesn't care.
to the county level. They're going to come to the city level, and it's going to become the problems. Then we're going to be paying more taxes locally,
Hmm.
right? And then we're going to be paying the same federal taxes out. There's no cuts in sight, and then there's going to be
Hmm.
for to no benefit of us or the people, right? Large
But
majority
then
of
what does
Americans.
that create? It creates the conditions for there to be anger, disharmony in the streets. But what are they trying to invest in? Tanks, that vehicle was $324,000 vehicle or something like that.
Hmm.
Some large, weaponized tank with a water cannon on it. Like, that's what fascists do. They create the conditions where people are, there's discontent, there's anger, there's acrimony in the streets. But then they say, oh, we have to stamp that down with more militarized police.
Hmm.
So that's why that's why Martin Luther King said the three evils of the world are militarism, racism, and capitalism.
Hmm.
Because those three things always go together in a fascist country, which America has always been just a glorified arms dealer.
Hmm. They say all comes from what, asset forfeiture, the money, the funding for things like that. But that's also, I'm like, you
They
mean that
stealing
could
from
have went
people.
elsewhere? Could have went from elsewhere? Well, yeah, one could have went from elsewhere. Two, a lot of that money is literally just stealing from people. Like, one of the families that ICE went into,
Right.
they got the wrong family, right house, wrong family. So the family had moved
Crazy.
out, and they said, and Christy Noam this week had said, well, we had the right house, and we followed the law, and yeah, you know what? She's actually right. The law does allow for them to take their property, and in order for them to get it back, even if they were the wrong person, even if it was a mistake, in order to get it back, that process, in a lot of cases, is very hard and challenging. So imagine somebody just busting up in your house and is like, "Oops, wrong house," but they just took your savings, they took your stuff, they turned your life upside down. They don't care. But anyways, so we have
And
now have
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna just add one more point to your point you're making about how she was like this is within the law. Folks, again, we've warned y'all for hundreds of years. Just because something is legal does not mean that it's moral. Slavery was legal. The Holocaust was legal. Jim Crow was legal. Japanese internment camps were legal. All this shit was the war on drugs was legal. Law. There's law enforcement, right? That was coming down, cracking down on communities. The CIA imported drugs into black communities, right? Just to create the new war. The Cold War had ended, and they had to create a new war.
Mhm.
So folks, I really want folks to understand this might be a time where I need folks to start thinking differently about what it means to be outside the law. Oh my God, Perron's saying that he wants us to go and no, no. What I'm saying though, if the law is, and I always test white people on this, if Congress and this white Christian nationalist Congress and the MAGA Muppet Mike Johnson, if he's able to get the Congress and then Thune and the Senate was able to then follow up on this, if they were able to get a bill through and then passed into law, that like if you basically an updated version of the Fugitive Slave Act, where if you're a white person, you have to then tell on all black people, you have to call the police every time you see a black person, or you have to detain them. And they say that's the law. And if not, you are going to be held to account. And that's the
Mhm.
law. What would you do? Oh, Perron, that's crazy. Okay, we're seeing a lot of crazy shit right now. And it
Mhm.
starts with this kind of, I'm not even saying this is low level because people's lives are being torn apart. But what I'm saying is that is how once you allow this to be permitted, it's called a permission structure for a reason, right? It
Mhm.
starts here and then it builds and then it builds and then it builds. Now it's like, okay, again, they don't know how to build anything else. So all they can do is take away. Now we got to take away from black people. They're already doing, and that's our next topic. But what would you do then?
Right.
Because the folks in Germany who were, snitching on Jewish people, they were following the law too.
Right. And you say, like, you fill in a tub with hot water, gradually gets hotter. Right. It doesn't just start off like, steaming hot.
Right.
Um, and there was somebody on a message board that posted today, and he said they felt helpless and feel like this is the point of no return. And I've my mindset has been being trained over the last couple months to one, accept that what is coming, right? But two, realizing like, you know what, black folks lived under fascism for pretty much the entire existence of America, right?
Yeah, when did we
And
not?
we survived and we got past it. We've gotten
Not everybody survived, right?
through it, right? But so yeah, it's going to take work, and there's a lot ahead. But at the end of the day, it will, it will pass. But if we adequately, fight it and resist it, but I think for a lot of white folks are not used to it, and that's frightening, and understandably so. But it's kind of like one of those things, like, damn, told you so. So if you're listening, like, subscribe, follow, share, anything like that. Appreciate it. Appreciate.
I mean, because and to your point, yesterday was the 111th birthday of Sister Viola Fletcher, who was a survivor of the Tulsa massacre. She was older, if I'm correct, than both of your daughters. She was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a daughter that's 7 years old, right? I'm getting that correct, right?
Five.
See, I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. I knew that. But the point is, so she was older than both of your children. So she remembers Tulsa. And this is why, to get into our next topic with the firing of the librarian for the Library of Congress, of why they try to erase our history. But when folks like this, like Sister Fletcher, and what did I say during my final speech as the Democratic chair is, I come from a people who refuse to die. And she is a living testament, and that's why they hate that. Her boldness, her strength at 111. I mean, come on. All that she's seen. Now you gonna tell me, oh, get over it? Tell her to get over it to her face. And they did when they dismissed her case with prejudice, that she should get nothing from the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, a lot of folks, and never got the 40 acres and a mule, never got any of these things, never got reparations.
Nope.
For generations, and
but Ashley Babbitt,
we're told to forget it. We're told to forget about Ashley Babbitt. Got what, a $30 million payout?
$30 million because she's a fucking insurrectionist. So just when y'all tell us that white privilege doesn't exist, just know we have countless examples. There's so many cities, towns, roads, bridges, schools named after treasonous traitor Confederates. And I think I told you, Ron, before, like, there's statues built to Robert E. Lee. For us, Ron, for me to have a statue, we would have to build one. We would have to build a statue to get a statue. But they have statues in schools named after traitors. And we need to stop calling we need to stop calling it the Civil War, by the way. We should start calling it the United States versus the Confederacy.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta start right-sizing this shit because they're trying to rewrite history.
Yeah, and I think, I know we talk about this a lot, but people have to realize that this is what is the battle, right? If you're a Democrat, if you're on the left and you're denying that white supremacy exists, white privilege exists, that it's not,
you're helping them.
It's not in the White House. Like, you can't fight a fight. You're fighting the wrong fight, right? You playing apples, they're playing oranges. You think they're playing chess, you're playing, you're licking the board, right? So real quick, before we get into the librarian, I'm gonna put this, I apologize for putting this ugly specimen skinhead on the screen, but for those people that keep denying this, like, this man is the epitome he is the face of white supremacy,
yes.
White nationalists in the White House. Like, he is stopped short of just saying it. Like, the only thing he doesn't have to say is, like, I'm a Nazi, I'm a white nationalist. He hasn't said it.
But again, most Nazis and white nationalists don't say that, so, like, we have to stop saying that's the mark to be like, oh wait, hold on. Mary Burns didn't say he's a white supremacist. It's like
but in 2019, we've been here with Stephen Miller, right?
Have we?
So Stephen Miller, there was a whole scandal around him. He had emails going to Breitbart. He was citing emails to other citing emails that are known to be wing racist.
Yeah, that's right.
White nationalists.
White wing. That's right.
To the point where Democrats were calling for his resignation, and AOC was calling him a white nationalist, right? Bernie Sanders called for him to even Bernie Sanders. I mean, he didn't. Well, he actually one of the few times he's actually I remember him saying white nationalist, right? Julian Castro, neo-Nazi, Omar, white nationalist, Blumenauer. I don't know who that is, but so the
This is a well-worn path for Stephen Miller.
and the rhetoric is actually tamped down within Democrats, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, I don't see no one's really like on the mainstream of Democrats are calling it because I think that they're still scared to engage, and call
Yeah.
it what it is. But this is who he is. Like, this is
As I nickname Stephen Miller, I call him Santa Monica Goebbels, because that's what he is. He's just a Santa Monica version of Joseph Goebbels, who was the chief propagandist for Adolf Hitler. That's what he is. If he sounds just like him, and it's sad because his ancestry is, he's Ashkenazi Jewish, right? So he is of the people that Hitler would have thrown into ovens or would have put into concentration camps, or who would have pulled the gold out of their fillings. He is of that ilk, but that just proves that you don't have to be of the quote unquote master race to be uphold white supremacy. Word to Clarence Thomas, word to Byron Donalds, word to Tim Scott.
yeah. Have you ever seen the clip of him like in college?
Yes,
And he's saying, "I'm tired of picking up my own trash."
yes. Have you seen the clip of him where he ran into a women's track meet because he believed that men are faster than women, just to prove it, even in high school,
Mm-mm.
and he lost. I mean, he wasn't in the race. He wasn't in the race. He jumped on, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And of course, he's like, "Look at him. He's not athletic." And the girls are like, "Dude, get out of here." So that's who we're dealing with here, folks. Is someone, and they're so worried about quote unquote boys and girls sports. To take that with Stephen Miller.
Yeah, yeah. Here, let me. I'm gonna do this real
Oh,
quick.
look at that handsome devil.
Who is
Literally.
sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash. And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us.
Like,
Dude, he got so
and
much gash.
this man is. I think he's like, I think he's 1 year younger
He,
than me. This man.
he's all yeah, no, he's exactly our age. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I mean, yeah. But I
and
mean, dude, you could tell the women were falling
just
all
look.
over
Yeah,
him.
look at it.
Look at that. Look at that. Do you remember when he spray painted that triangle on his forehead, that devil's triangle? If you're gonna get
The
nasty with it, he had that. He spray
Devil's
painted that
Peak.
that
Devil's
that,
Peak.
that the devil's peak. That's right. Yeah, he had that soul patch, on his head. But yeah, but that's what happens. That hate will age you. But to that point about how folks are trying to rewrite history and change things, let's get to our next topic.
Mm,
Was the firing of the head librarian of the Library of Congress, and a lot of folks don't think they're aware of that. Dr. Carla Hayden.
mm-hmm.
She's been making some rounds. A lot of folks, when they do go to DC, they go to the Library of Congress. They actually take a picture in front of her door because a lot of black folks, they knew she was the first woman and
Mm-hmm.
the first black person to be the head librarian of the Library of Congress. And before that, she was the head librarian of the Library of Chicago, Baltimore. I mean, so the thing about white supremacy, what they don't get is, oh, y'all gonna mess us over. She might be the head librarian of the world. I mean, I don't. I mean, there's no library of the world, but you get my point. Like, was we gonna finesse into something else? You gonna stab me once? I'm gonna spin that around. Ali, you put somewhere else. That's the beauty of what black women do, and black people do. But a lot of people don't know what even the Library of Congress does and why this is so important. So I wrote some things down here. One is the largest library in the world. It stores important events and documents and archives them so they will not be lost to history. And why? And who would want things to be lost to history? Folks who are trying to rewrite history, right? Like these folks who are trying to say that slaves actually learned skills and slavery was good and the Civil War was not about slavery and there was never such thing called Jim Crow and these black people are just complaining and there was never Japanese internment and there was never the Lavender Scare, there was never the Red Scare, and McCarthy was actually a good person. It's like that's what they're trying to do, is erase their own history. As I always say, slavery is white history, just like all this other shit is white history. And they want to erase their own shit. and it's disgusting. What else is the Library of Congress do? They fund literacy programs. Rom, we forget as adults in America, 54% of Americans read below a sixth grade level. 54%. That is the majority of adults. So what does that mean? That means someone they will take instead of having the media literacy and able to have critical thinking, they are going to then put their trust into somebody that they think is telling them the truth because of social context, right? Someone like a Tucker Carlson who wears a bow tie, who looks like your son, who looks like someone that, yeah, I could believe this guy because he looks like my boss. Or they could believe someone like a Steve Bannon, who's just a scruffy guy that he's fighting for, I believe, my interest. Or I believe, I don't know, a Donald Trump, who I've seen my whole life. I've seen him in Home Alone too. I've seen him be selling me ice and steak and all kind of stupid shit in Cologne and planes and Taj Mahals. And yeah, maybe he could be my president because I have no critical thinking skills because I myself read below a sixth grade level. So that's also what the Library of Congress does. Um, it's a database for library training. So folks who are want to become librarians or be able to help kids in their local areas, they have a database to do that to get folks trained up onto how to store the books and how to have the right books.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I wrote down here they oversee the rules for copyright law. So if someone wants to make an AI exception for
AI,
someone,
right? Yep.
they have to check with the Library of Congress. And how would you change that? Get rid of the librarian.
Yeah, and AI is already trampling over copyrighted materials, but this is one less obstacle. They also,
Correct.
I think, they also replaced or removed the person who was in charge of the patent copyright office. Forget the exact office this past week as well. So AI has no regulation at the federal level, and really at most state levels. Only Colorado has any AI regulation, so AI is getting wiped out. But yeah, our AI is going to be wiping out like intellectual property, copywritten stuff. So that's one major factor. Two is I think that obviously they're trying to get rid of education. They would want people to be, if they don't want people to be woke, so they want them to be asleep. But as they get rid of Department of Education, as they get rid of all these things, what are they talking about replacing it? Have you ever heard them say, we have a
No.
better plan? You know what? We're putting in our
States'
education
rights.
there. Yeah, states' rights. It's up to you in the states. Okay.
But what they mean by that is these gerrymandered states that have taken the will from the people,
Vouchers.
or the ability of people to even cast their ballots appropriately because they're so gerrymandered where they're either packing them into one district or they're cracking them or they're spreading them out where they have no political power. So that's what they mean by that. It's not the actual people, they mean these legislatures.
Yeah. So
That's what they mean.
yeah, and they're trying to open up Catholic schools using federal funding,
Yep.
so no longer private. So again,
So they're
entrenching
trying to do
separationists.
two things. They're trying to privatize and segregate.
Yep, vouchers are big here in North Carolina. Basically
Yep.
taking
Same thing.
basically what it is it's basically using taxpayer money to pay for private school for the rich.
That's it.
And then what the number one voucher program, like, well, in my area. So when I first moved here, I said, well, where can I use vouchers? And Catholic, Christian, Catholic.
There you go.
Look, I'm Christian, but like I see what the scheme is, and then they don't even have any standards, right? So I see what the
Right.
scheme is, and they just pop up these schools, and then it's a money laundering, right?
But this is why history is so important because when did these schools pop up? What year did all of these fucking schools start popping up in this country? After 1954. What happened in 1954? Brown v. Board of Education. All of a sudden, you got to start having private school. You got to start having religious school. You got to, and this was a neo way for them to resegregate, and it's been happening since 1954. And I was talking to my mom a couple of days ago. She was born in 1962. Schools are more segregated today, Rom,
Mm-hmm.
than they were in 1965.
Mm. The original intent of vouchers was to help low income students to try to get into
Yeah.
schools where they could excel. Anyways, it's been bastardized. The third thing, with Dr. Hayden, is that, in similar roles that these black people that they're removing from traditionally non-political roles
Yeah,
is that I think that they are trying to get rid of anybody who would be a potential whistleblower to what
come
they're
on,
doing. And
come on.
so having a black person be right there front and center is not actually it's not gonna bode well when you start creating racist policies and things, and you start removing things that are obviously racist. So you keep putting these things in front of us. Again, all of these checkpoints are here. I don't know what else you need to see. Like this, to me, this week, if you weren't understanding what was happening, and that you think that there was the courts would hold up the system and that this wouldn't be as bad as it's gonna get, this week should be the biggest alarm that you had. I don't know what else to tell you. It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get really bad. So if you're still, teetering on the side of, well, hope, and thinking that you're gonna
I just
hope your
want to
way out
be.
of this,
I just want to be happy. We just want to smile.
yeah, and bring in people. If there's anybody on who isn't second thinking their decision at this point, they're either dumb as rocks or they're racist. Like, period, point blank. I
Are
don't
you
care.
talking about second guessing voting for Trump, or like
Yeah,
folks who are on the left?
voted for Trump. Voted for Trump. If anybody who's voted for Trump, because we're supposed to bring them in. We're supposed to
Yes,
kumbaya them,
embrace
give
them.
them a hug, right? That's this ship is sailed. Like if people
I,
don't understand it, like, look, you're dumb. I'm sorry, but
or you're complicit.
you're ignorant. Like, you're ignorant, whatever you want to call it, or you're complicit.
Whatever,
Meaning,
whatever.
because we already knew that racism, like, is cool. That's
Not a deal breaker.
not a deal breaker. But like, now that you're seeing this inhumanity, you're seeing it front and center in your face. You're seeing it happen to your neighbor. Well,
But the
man,
thing is,
I don't know what
this
to
is
tell
why,
you.
this is why you will never hear me say, you will never hear Peyron Alexander Baxter say, but they didn't vote for this. You will never hear me say it, because it's like first of all, they didn't say that shit. And first of all, like not first of all, I said first of all, but I saw someone else. I think I told this a couple weeks ago. I was commenting about like, these folks, they voted for the price of eggs, right? This guy responds to me as like, no, I voted for mass deportations. This is what I wanted. So it's like, okay, so somebody's fucking lying. Like, so like,
Yeah,
stop trying to tell us that like, oh no, they only wanted. So hold on, you were cool when he said he'll let cops kill us with impunity. You was cool when he said mass deportations now, but now all of a sudden that Peckerwood, that he done lost his job. Now all of a sudden it's time for me, the oppressed person that is the descendant of oppressed people who refuse to die, who educated ourselves under the threat of death, and worked and fought and made this country live to its professed values. It's now incumbent upon me to care about Jim Bob.
Mm.
Listen, I got a waterfront property in Idaho to sell you, man.
So yeah, if again, this is it. Like, if they're still lost in the sauce, they're not coming. They're not coming back over. The economic the economic anxiety. I mean,
You're lost in the sauce, huh? You the sauce and you're lost. You should have that Gucci Man clip. You know what I'm talking about?
which
Where he's talking about lost in the sauce. You never see that before?
no.
Google Gucci Man lost in the sauce, man. It's famous as fuck. It is the most brilliant way of explaining lost in the sauce. So, to our white listeners out there, if you don't know what lost in the sauce means, hopefully Ron can find this clip.
I got
And
the
he's like,
clip.
okay, so this is what lost in the sauce means.
All right, let me get it really queued up. Yeah, here
Yeah,
we go.
yeah. So this is what lost in the sauce. Yeah, this is it right here. He gonna explain it to you.
Is it hard to be fresh if you don't have money, or can you still pull it off?
See, when I ain't had no money, I still had sauce.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you don't got no sauce, then you're lost.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also get lost in the sauce.
You can get how you get lost in the sauce?
Man, a bitch gonna get lost in the sauce, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, man.
I'm sprinkling sauce, dropping sauce every street, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I dig it.
Overdose of sauce.
That's what it is.
All right, so you stop it there.
No meat, just sauce.
When you're born, can you be born with sauce, or do you?
Can
That's
you be
funny.
born with sauce?
That's
But yeah,
funny.
so like, you can be lost in the sauce. But this show is meant to educate. We want to educate you all in AAVE, African American Vernacular English, because sometimes we may say stuff to me and you, and folks are like, "What, lost in the sauce?" Like, because if you're lost in the sauce, You can be lost, as Gucci Man just said. But yeah, but this is their goal, man, is to bring us to this point where folks are incapable of finding information. And I think Dr. Carla Hayden, I saw a clip of her today where she was talking about Mein Kampf. She says Mein Kampf is the number one most requested book um, for the past few decades in libraries. And she says, as librarians, and I guess she was gesturing to some other librarian in the crowd. She says, as you know, as a fellow librarian, we have this phrase that we should let the books balance out on the shelves. The books that people want to read, we should put out there. And she says, and I do believe people should read Mein Kampf.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, when I read Jason Stanley's book, How Fascism Works,
arrested outside an
Sorry,
immigration
hold on one
detention
second.
center. Let's get
you're good.
Sorry, I was queuing up something. Go ahead.
He constantly is referring to what's in Mein Kampf, because
Mm-hmm.
if you read the words that Hitler was talking about, it is almost identical what
So
the Republican Party platform has been for 50 years.
yeah, Trump says he keeps it on his nice. Like he say he keeps it on his nightstand. Like, I mean,
Yeah, but he probably never read that shit. Yeah, he never read that shit.
that
I'm
is
talking
true.
about,
That is true. That
like,
is
this
true.
is the
That is true.
but what I'm saying, the policies that he supports, the saying that rural Germany is the real Germany, and those metropolitan areas with those homosexuals and the race mixers and the Jews, and it's the same thing they're saying about New York and Chicago and San Francisco, and they're saying the real America is Missouri and all this other shit.
It's knowledge, right? I mean, it's
Yes,
you.
yes.
If you how can you if somebody said that, hey, there's a blueprint, your enemy has a blueprint.
Come on.
Whether it's Project 2025 or Mein Kampf, or whatever, the Heritage Foundation, like all of these things, you're it's a cheat code. You got it right.
And it makes sense if you think about it. It's like for years, because I'm sure when me and you were growing up in, you're in Chicago, I was in Pittsburgh. Like I was always told, Mein Kampf is a banned book because it's Hitler's book. And as a young person who doesn't, all you know is the worst person that has ever existed is Adolf Hitler. Sans, and forget about King Leopold, who killed 20 million people in Congo. But no, the worst person is Adolf Hitler. So if they say Adolf Hitler wrote a book, that has to be taken off the shelves. But to your point, you want that playbook out the way, so folks can't know that your current playbook is that playbook.
Well, yeah, because
So that they can't draw it together.
Well, yeah, because there was a fear that Timmy would get a hold of it, and the next thing you know, he's in this
He's
ideology.
But yet Nazism and Klanism and all that isms have been strong ever since.
I don't think it starts with reading Mein Kampf. But and that's the thing. It's like, because somebody said, well, what about when Democrats were censoring books? And I had to search. I'm like, because I was like, well, I don't really recall Democrats ever having a platform of censoring books.
Right. Thank you.
And I couldn't find nothing.
What they throw in there is to kill a mockingbird. So that'll get thrown in there a few times because a few school districts said that. And what it is they're saying, like, well, with the times we are in, maybe we should be censoring this book because there's probably better books that have better storytelling that could still talk about justice in better ways that aren't upholding, this white supremacist myth of, Atticus Finch that still actually failed in saving this black man.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's better books.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, like, is critical thinking. It's not just like, the point of school isn't to like teach an ideology or teach only one thing. It's to help you intake multiple inputs, understand the context, like you understand the artistry of whatever it is, and to critically think about these things for yourself in your world. These people are scared of these people. First off, people like Mayor Burns. I don't think he even has the capability to understand that. But a lot of these people understand that critical thinking is a threat. And that's why they don't want you to critical think. They don't want you to learn. They don't want you to have access to,
because they don't have it.
Because I think we're in a world where, I think about it now, is like everything's digitalized. We don't actually own anything anymore. I paid $30 for a movie on Apple Music, but if I don't have the internet, if Apple goes out of business, then what? You know what I'm saying? So, and then we're approaching that point of like where they can control the internet. If they wanted to cut us off of the internet or cut us off of specifics, like China does it, North Korea does it.
Mm-hmm.
So they already know everything that we're doing. So it's only one click away. It really is. So people have to realize that like having books, like you have your library, like, and you might have to teach your kids from the books in your library at some point.
Oh, and I do,
And you do,
and I make
yeah.
it.
And you should be,
And
right?
and I make a very specific point to do that because I don't know if I told you the story, but like a few months ago, my son had they were going over North Carolina law or North Carolina history, and they were going over the Civil War. It's kind of all like one little unit or whatever. And I'll never forget this one homework assignment. I just happened to see it. I mean, like I helped my son with his homework, but it was an in class assignment, so it wasn't a homework assignment. And there was a grade on it, and the grade I kind of looked, and it was like 7 out of 10. I was like 7 out of 10. It's kind of what was it? I look, and it's like, what were three causes of the Civil War? I'm like three. And like, so I'm looking at it, and it's like a bunch of nonsense. It's like, the rail car is here, and I'm like, and so, of course, as you see behind me, folks, I have this pantheon of books. I could have my own little Library of Congress in here. So I pull up the actual words from the Confederate president and vice president,
Mhm.
Alexander Stevens, and I made my son memorize some of the lines of what Alexander Stevens, the vice president of the Confederacy, said. He has a famous cornerstone speech that he gave about the exact purpose of the Civil War, the exact purpose of seceding from the United States. Again, this is the United States versus the Confederacy.
Mhm.
And my son went back to school and said, Dr. Miss Atkinson, there's only one cause
Mhm.
per them. And she's like, yeah. And that is the dichotomy. She's a black woman. And this is the
Mhm.
dichotomy of having black students. It's like, because we have to write down, and it's almost like teach your kids, like, yeah, you got to write down to get that A. But then when you get that A, be like, no, Miss Johnson, I knew all this was bullshit anyway.
Yep.
And it's like that is the terrible wasted time of our education system, because America has never done the two things South Africa has done. The two things that Germany has done is have truth and reconciliation. So, but
Yeah.
Dr. Carla Hayden, she didn't deserve it. She was a brilliant sister, and she gonna find something better for her.
Yeah.
And again, she's ran two major institutions, again, Baltimore and Chicago. And she gonna keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and one of the saddest things for me and disappointing things is, I went through most of my life in America of like we're moving in the right direction. Yeah, these things happened, and I never looked at people as like, oh,
Me
that's
too.
that's
Me
a white
too.
supremacist just because
Me
it,
too.
it would take more than me just looking at them, right, like, and
Like
thinking that
like they
these
had to
people
like be
hate
wearing
me.
like a Klan
Yeah,
hat.
yeah,
But
or
okay.
say some say some mildly whatever
Right.
stuff. And
Right.
so
Right.
but now unfortunately I do have to teach my kids, and my daughter who's 5, like,
Yep.
gonna have to give them the whole spiel, but like, she understands who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is, and she understands who Ruby Bridges is, and
Hmm.
now instead of saying yes, we're past that, we've moved past that, and we're building a better world, it's more of there's people who are actively threatening to bring that time period back, where people don't like you because of your skin color, or they don't like you
Shiloh
because
Hendricks.
and that's the most it's heartbreaking, honestly. um and that's the reality of it, is that's where we're at. And like I said, she's 5, so you have to be conscious to not um shatter their world, right? You build this world for them, of especially at this age, that's everything's good. And I said, well, you have to change this world for the better. And she says, well, I don't want to change the world, Daddy. Like, I love the world the way it is. And it's like, it breaks my heart to know that, like, it's going to be a lot different for her
The
growing
world's
up
gonna break.
than
Yeah,
for what it was even for us growing up. Yes, there was a
that's
lot of
true.
things that and the things that we take for granted. So yeah, that's where we're headed.
Yeah,
That's the
and I was
reality.
and I know we're ending here, but we're about to go to the final topic. But I
Mhm.
would just say, there's social scientists out there that said children start to understand the concept of race as young as 2 years old.
Mhm.
And when you understand the concept of race, especially if you don't have as we talked earlier about critical thinking and educating yourself and your children, your family, your community, you start to then imbibe and represent the stereotypes that understanding is meant to convey to you, right? So we saw the doll test, right? You put the white or black kid and say which doll is the good doll, which doll is the bad doll. These were kids younger than our daughters, and they're like, oh, the good one is the white one, the bad one is the black one. So that basic concept is reinforced not through education, not through what a teacher says, but from what they watch on television, what the billboards say, what the radio is saying, all the what the movies are playing, who the hero is on the Disney show, and who the villain is on the Disney show. All of these things tell people. This is why I tell people, like, don't worry about, like, oh, where do people get their news from? Because the reason we have this white supremacist backlash is not because everybody's watching Fox News. It's because of how they're consuming themselves and how they're represented through media. Media has always, the Joe Rogan of it all, the movies, the Black Mermaid of it all these things that would reinforce white supremacy. The black stormtrooper in Star Wars, they got mad about 5, 6, 7 years ago. All of these things reinforce this is what's causing the backlash. The Eminem not wanting to wear pumps anymore. It's reinforcing these ideas that, like, hold on, I thought this was for me as a white straight man. Now you're telling me this whole system is not for me. Oh no, we have to get it back. So it's not about what they're saying on Fox News about Joe Biden's chips policy or infrastructure. That is a lie. It is through media and through storytelling is how we develop narratives, and that is what the right knows. And the left is so busy talking about bullet points and graphs and data charts and all this other shit. It's like, okay, but what story are you telling?
Yeah. I will say one more thing before we get into this last topic. One thing I love about my daughter is that she heard and saw Trump at some point during this past election cycle, and she decided, she understood that this is a bad man. Like, I didn't have to instill it in her, indoctrinate her. She figured it out. Like, right? She understood Kamala Harris was running against Trump. I was out there. She heard Kamala Harris, and she's 5 years old. I love that. I love that about her, and it's like it reminds me of, like, a 5-year-old can figure it out. My neighbor, I was talking to my neighbor, and I was talking about Kamala Harris, and she was saying Kamala, whatever, and I was like, well, Aaliyah can say it.
Bam,
like,
smoked. So smoked. Well, she has that spirit where she can just, our kids can read it, as they said in Sinners, there are legends of people born with the gift of, being able to pierce the veil. Hey, I think it's more than just music. I think it's a cultural soul thing. Your soul stirs when you see that man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just know, like, nah, he ain't for me. But could you imagine seeing him and be like, he's for me? Like, what does that say about you?
Right. And also, anyway, it's just this orange Oompa Loompa looking man. But this last topic. Let me. We're going to talk about the mayor.
And I believe he's a gubernatorial.
Yeah, he's running for the
gubernatorial candidate.
He's running for governor of
New Jersey.
New Jersey, along with like 6 other Democrats, I think, are running right now.
But still,
it's a big field. But he's been out there, protesting, showing up at this ICE detention center, which I believe is in Newark, in his city.
And the backstory is that this detention center did not have the correct permits. So not only is it illegal what they're doing to the citizens, but the actual facility itself is also illegal. So the idea that these people who have no identification, no badges, plain clothes, and also that are being aided by the police. And I try to remind our white listeners out there that America has always been a fascist police state. You have to come to grips with that. Like, yes, you know what? Black people have been right. So every time you stand and put your heart or your hand on your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you sing "God Bless America," we are saying, well, what is America? Because we're the only group of people that did not ask to come here. So all of these standards, laws, rules, structures, institutions were placed on top of us. What did Malcolm X say? We did not land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And this is what happened to Ras Baraka here. You have the clip, or are you going to talk about it?
I got the clip. I'm going to roll the clip.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to roll the clip.
Of Newark, New Jersey, arrested outside an immigration detention center. Let's get straight to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez. Priscilla, what actually happened here?
Well, the Newark mayor, as you said, has been arrested. He had been protesting the opening of a facility. The facility here is the Delaney Hall is a detention facility that's run by private prison operator Geo Group. Now, according to witnesses on the ground, federal officials had blocked the entry. There was a heated argument, and then the mayor was arrested. He had been trying to join a tour by the New Jersey delegation and their attempt to tour this facility. Now, the interim U.S. attorney has weighed in and said that the mayor had trespassed and ignored warnings from Homeland Security personnel. We have also received a statement from the Department of Homeland Security saying, quote, members of Congress are not above the law and cannot illegally break into detention facilities, going on to say that this is an evolving situation. Now, Phil, Congress has passed legislation which includes language about members of Congress being able and having the authority to visit ICE facilities without having to receive special permissions or to make a request. That, however, would not apply to the Newark mayor. So all of this is still an evolving situation. We're trying to get more details here, but what does remain true at this hour.
All right, so.
And he's black.
Yeah,
he's a black. So
that to that point, I mean, like I think Menendez was out there, who I believe he's white.
He's Bob Menendez's son. Yeah.
They didn't.
And Alicia Menendez's brother from MSNBC.
They didn't arrest him. Like, so that's the thing is like when black men especially get out in the front lines, they have no hesitation in escalating, and arresting. And this is what we also like. What a lot of people have been saying is like, that's why, this is why we're not out in the streets.
But they still had the audacity to be like, you remember that lady was like, can you tell me why black folks had, had the gall, like, because this fascist police state will treat us the way it was meant, the way it was propped up on. All this stuff is the slave patrol. All this stuff is to remind us, to put us back in our place. The reason Kyle Rittenhouse gets off, the reason police can kill us with impunity, the reason George Zimmerman can be a vigilante is to remind black people, you are not free to move about the cabin as you'd like. That's the whole point. And, Roz Baraka, you a mayor? Let me tell you something. You ain't nothing but another, You ain't nothing but another what Shiloh Hendricks called that 5-year-old boy. That's all you are.
So they've escalated, and they're threatening further escalation. And everyone else who was there claimed that, well, one, that they weren't actually asked to leave. Then two, that they're saying that they have assaulted these people, and they're saying there's not. And so these people, ICE agents, or like you said, I think they're a mixture of DHS, ICE, whatever.
Militias.
I do think that they're bounty hunters. I remember when there was a bounty hunter said early on, February, January.
I remember that.
They're telling me that I can get paid per head.
I remember that.
I'm just letting you know I'm about to do it. Like, I don't think it's right. He said, I don't think
he
it's
was
right.
Masked up, right?
I think so. Or like he was
masked up. I remember that.
He said, just so you know, I'm about to do it. I don't think it's right, but I'm about to do it because I'm about to make money. I'm going to continue to make money, and everyone else is doing it. Jace, I think I don't necessarily think Jay Sixers per se, but I think that would be too big of a
maybe.
scandal.
Why not? Like, why not?
That whole alignment. I think that people who these border militias, like these people who have existed for many years, like they patrol the border, but they have no actual no actual power, but they'll still who knows what
bust your window open.
Who knows what they'll do, right? So in these people, more and more you just see them move differently. You know what I mean? Like and they cover their faces, they have no badges, and then I see where a woman was I believe sexually assaulted by somebody who said that they were an ICE agent, right? So now you have these people who go around, these look like a lot of these cosplaying, fake military folks that
LARPing
you've seen, right? put on a bulletproof vest, put on some, camo fatigue, throw a mask on, put on a few, boots, whatever kind of boots, combat boots, right? And the next thing you know, you look like one of these these guys. And then what? Then you go into some a neighborhood with a high immigrant population, and you just start picking people off and doing whatever. Like, that's where we're at. That's the threat.
You're right. Right. They are the threat. As I said earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's the additional threat. Is like now you're giving because you don't show badges, because you don't name yourself, because you have mask on.
Right.
Anyone can.
Right. Right. I saw, I think it was on Brian Tyler Cohen's page where someone said that when are we going to start seeing people who are not quote unquote ICE agents being dressed up like ICE agents, pulling women off the street saying they're ICE agents?
Mm.
And that could be the story you just told, right? But like, when's that? It's going to be happening on a larger scale, right? Where there could be some. And we're hearing about these sex crimes and Epstein types of. It doesn't have to be as high as Epstein. It could be a bunch of local yokels.
We know people have been crazy. People have been doing this kind of crazy shit since they've been impersonating police officers. They've been doing all kinds of things to do what they want to do, right? It's the Uber drive, like all these things become. But when you actually have this,
you institutionalize it.
Right. You can have 6 people just pop out of a SUV, and then
they just ran it from Enterprise, it's just a white van, and you don't know, and you're like, okay, is this police? They got some fake ass badges.
Everyone in the neighborhood. You got open carry here in North Carolina. So I don't think this is hyperbole. I think this is actually.
But my thing is this. This is my thing is that what, as I said earlier, I want to just bring this point up, and we can. I know we're over our 45-minute window. Is that. What is this protecting us from? Like at the end of the day, these are supposed to be the criminals, the rapists, the drug dealers, the ones that are causing all this chaos across the country, and yet not a single person has shot anybody. All these bad hombres, they just laid their guns down and just were taken away. Right. All these violent criminals, like it doesn't even make fucking sense. And we're sitting here allowing these people who are in air-conditioned rooms and tailored suits to tell us that the most violent people are these people that are being arrested without incident, the most violent. I mean, they've tried to arrest, I forget the name of the that group up in some of those states, but it's that biker gang. And there was a shootout. But you tell me they've arrested hundreds of people and not a single shot's been fired. No one's been injured. Like on a grand scale, because they are not going for the criminals. They're not going for these people. Again, I'm going to remind all of our listeners, being an illegal immigrant is not a criminal offense. It is a civil offense, like a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or jaywalking. That's what it is. And they're trying to say, well, illegal equals illegal versus being like, okay, one is an infraction, one is not a felony. Yeah. And mind you, you are praying to the altar of an orange rapist and a 34-time felon. So I don't want to hear about who the bad hombres are. There is a bad hombre at the helm, and it's easier to deflect to say the bad person is over there, the bad person is over there, the bad person is that brown person, that Venezuelan, that El Salvadorian, that black person, that trans person, that disabled person, that right is going to keep moving up. If you think that you're safe with your, I only care about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and you are missing it. Yes, those things are important, but the humanity is what ties any of that shit together. And on top of that, immigrants pay $96 billion into our social safety nets. So you should care about that for your own posterity. Mm-hmm. And I just want to just make that point. Like, these folks were so violent, then why has there been no incidents? You can miss me.
Mm-hmm. So I had a comment on YouTube. You're free to leave if you don't like it.
Speaking free to leave. we were brought here, dummy. We were brought. On top of that, where we go to? You know what I mean? We've probably been here longer than you have. And on top of that, when black folks tried to leave, they wouldn't let us leave. So where the fuck we gonna go? Like, I'm so sick of that dumbass comment from racist white people who don't even realize that whiteness is made up. Like, you're holding on to something that's a myth. You're trying to tell me I need to leave. because what you're saying is this project needs to continue on abusing people's rights, harming immigrants, harming black people, harming women. That's what they mean when they say it's time you should leave. They're saying this thing needs to continue as violent and as despicable and as vile as it possibly is. And if you don't like that, if you don't like not having the right to vote the same way I have the right to vote as a white person, that is your problem.
Charlotte, North
because
Carolina,
that is cowardice.
Yeah, sorry.
Because if white supremacy was supreme, you wouldn't need to put all these obstacles and roadblocks and potholes in the road for other people if you were so fucking supreme.
Yep.
Call in. We need to get a phone line.
Yeah,
we need a phone line, man.
So we'll leave it.
These motherfuckers up.
We'll leave it. Well, I'll leave it on. There's one more thing that happened locally. I don't know if you caught this.
What we got?
Let me see. Get this pulled up here.
Charlotte, North Carolina, a black man is harassed outside of his recording studio.
This is Indian Trail.
By his neighboring business.
This is down the street from me.
Barnyard Customs, and the man's name is Lamar Smith. Lamar Smith makes shit up.
All I said, I didn't leave trash. All I'm saying is stay off my shit. None of my customers wasn't here.
I don't give a
I wasn't here. I wasn't here. How could it be my customers when I wasn't here?
So let me see. They're black. It's a black and mild. It's a watermelon.
They're black. It's a black and mild. You're so racist.
Yeah, I guess I am racist. I hate every body, and I hate black people.
You're
too.
racist, bro.
You got a problem with that? I ain't got to work.
I ain't coming over there.
I ain't got to
Stay
work
off
with your
my
black
shit.
ass.
You. Oh, racist ass.
You, nigga.
We gonna have a big ass protest. It's not. I'm bringing the news out here.
Big ass protest.
Yes, we gonna bring the news out here.
Protest. I'll bring all my outlaws up here. I'll bring all my
Oh.
up here.
Now, the victim has been in this location for the past 6 years, but recently, this guy.
And I'm sure he voted for Kamala Harris in 2024.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure economic anxiety is
exactly right. The price of eggs. The price of eggs. And this is why I'm beside myself when white Democrats want to tell me about this expanding your arms, because that's who's in their base.
Mm-hmm.
And as Muhammad Ali said in the 1970s, you telling me there's 10,000 snakes coming down that aisle, and you're telling me only 1,000 want to bite me. It's up to me to be able to differentiate the ones who ain't trying to bite me.
Yeah. So one thing to note: the Union County Sheriff arrested the black man. They arrested him. He made that guy made a complaint, and they took his word for it.
Because he's a racist.
They released him, however, and Union County. I guess I got to start learning about Cafferty. I'm told.
Yeah, I mean, when we had Christy Puckett on, she told us about him. She's like,
yeah, she did. Mm-hmm.
She said he keeps motherfuckers locked down 23 hours a day, no exception. That's the same thing she told me 2 years ago. She said that on our show. So I mean, he's a well-known bigot. And again, these are the people they keep trying to tell us that we have to sit here and understand them and economic. No, you give people like that power. That bigot that we just saw in that video, who says he's gonna bring his outlaws and all kind of slack jaw motherfuckers like that. You shoe bottom low.
Yeah, he started naming off his white supremacist organizations.
All the black man said was we're gonna protest your racism. He said we're gonna bring on he said nigger killers and all kind of shit. Like what?
He said he might as well just say hey, we're gonna bring the Klan. He did end up getting arrested, charged with a misdemeanor for what it's worth. But yeah, this is where we're at. It's right around us. We're right here in Union County. And I haven't seen this slack jawed yokel around, but I'm sure they're.
And that's the thing. And this is why I try to tell people, like, how are we supposed to know who the good ones are? In voting and telling me, did you vote for Obama or voted for Kamala? We don't know. Because all of y'all are just like the Winter Soldier in Marvel. It takes a few words to say to Bucky Barnes, and all of a sudden he snaps back into Winter Soldier, and he's riding the violence of white supremacy on people. It takes a few too many. Hey, don't say that. Hey, you might need to process that. Hey, where'd you hear that from? Hey, we're not all like that. Hey, what you said was racist. You might want to use the pronouns the person said. It just takes a few too many corrections, and all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
So. Just be aware of that, y'all. If y'all are really trying to do the work, do the work.
Yeah. All righty. That was good. This was good.
As always. I mean, we're 45 minutes in. That's good. So what happens is, folks, is that we get warmed up for like 30 minutes and then we do the show.
But yeah, this if you're still listening, like, share, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff.
Please, please.
And thank you.
And we are hopefully having a producer join soon. I don't know. I was putting that out there into the atmosphere if they're listening, to help the show run smoother and be more dynamic and more explosive. Because we're growing, folks. We're trying to get intro songs. If you have any ideas of how we can get better as a show, please let us know. Drop us an email. Drop it in the chat. Beyond saying you can leave, but we'll do anything else beyond that.
Yeah, info at radicalroots.us. And yeah, we would love to have let's have a guest, one of these people call in and let's go.
We got to figure that out. Figure that out.
We'll be cordial as we need to be.
For sure.
Respect begets respect. Disrespect begets disrespect. So
that's right.
And Mayor Burns, I know you're listening.
Open invitation.
The invitation's open. Never replied to my email, so I'm gonna chat. I'm gonna have to come up there again on Tuesday. I'm gonna
alpha, bro.
I'll have to go see what you've been talking about, and put you back in place again.
Totally alpha.
So, and again, campaign to get rid of the mayor. Number one. So
shoe bottom low.
Yes, a threat to the area, threat to Union County. Absolutely.
A threat to himself and anybody around him. Folks, thank you for listening. I'm your co-host, Peyron Baxter.
I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval.
And thank you for listening to Radical Roots. And we will see you on the next